But I want to go back to your childhood. I want to really kind of understand what it was like for you growing up. So tell me just a little bit about growing up. What was it like for you?
So I grew up in Santa Monica, California. So there wasn't a lot of diversity there. Didn't really recognize that because my father had a big family. So saw lots of people from different shades that looked like me on my father's side. And then when I started going to school, probably around 5 or 6, I started noticing just differences. There was not a lot of people that looked like me or had the same hair texture as me or same skin color. And so I learned from a very early age, some of the differences. But my mother was just very supportive of not worrying about it and just making friends with people from all different backgrounds. And I ended up making some really great friends that, because of them, I had a wonderful childhood.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you grew up in Santa Monica, so I guess, you were around the Hollywood life, and I remember reading something about you wanting to be an actor, right? What was that like? What years were you actually pursuing your acting career?
Gosh, it was in like the late 90s, I think, and
Okay.
maybe 96, 97,
Okay.
98, and yeah, I did. I mean, I used to be funny. I'm not anymore, but I used to be really funny. And I remember I went on an audition for some stand-up comedy thing with my mother. She was the only one really laughing in the audience. But I did. I wanted to be a comedic actress, or I wanted to be in drama. But it was really the roles were very important. I remember being 12 and wanting to be in the drama class, and they were casting for a play, and I wanted to go for the lead role. It's just because the way I was raised, and always strive for the best you can strive for. So of course you want the lead role. It has the most lines, you get the most exposure, and they didn't let me audition for it. They said, no, the lead's going to go to somebody else, but you can play the maid robot. And I was like, you need to play the maid? Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Right,
so I didn't play. And I remember I told my mother, I was offended. I was like, why don't I get a chance to go for the lead role? And again, I was very young. I didn't really understand much of what was behind that. But when I started looking at all the casting calls and opportunities, they were just for roles that I didn't want to play, because it's not how I wanted to present or represent myself or people of color. So I refused to audition for them. And I eventually just said that it's just not going to happen for me. And that's when I went onto the business side of media to try to, help change things from the inside.
Okay, that's very interesting, because maybe you had the same thing that I did when I was growing up. So when I was younger, I used to always think, you would see the lead actresses and you would think, wow, one day I want to be that. But it didn't really register you that, wait a minute, but you don't look like those women that are the lead actresses, right? And that never registered in my head until later. And I'm like, oh, that's why I probably will never have, a lead actress role. I mean, did it click like that, oh, I'm Black and they're, different color, white, and perhaps.
Well, I mean, for me, when they were so blatant about it. They were like, lead roles, white, blonde,
Okay.
I never saw I was looking for casting roles based on skin color, because it literally said, we want a Black woman to play this.
Right.
Or a Black woman to play the prostitute, or the Black woman to play, the homeless person or the crack person, whatever it may be. And all the other roles that were the leading roles, like, the captain of the cheerleading team, or, the wife of the lead actor, it always said white. So, that was, I was just tired of looking at that, because it was just so in my face. And, the roles started to come out. I remember when Gabrielle Union got Bad Boys with Will Smith, or alongside Will Smith. I thought, how great for her to have scored that role. And she represented well. She did it well. She, went on to the Bring It On series, and she did well on that, and has had a great career. But I was at that point walking away from acting and really just kind of going into internships in media.
Yeah. So, and what you're doing is wonderful. I just am so inspired by the screen hits. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, it's funny how it's come about. I mean, I used to, sell TV series, because I kind of thought, what, if I can't be acting in it, what I can do is try to get more content that represents people from different backgrounds in a positive light by selling it and trying to get it picked up on TV and getting it greenlit. And that whole process was a nightmare. So I created some technology to make it easier to get content out. And I used to work with a guy named Ralph Farquhar who produced like Married with Children and The Parkers and Moesha, and he had the catalog to kind of sell that content. Anyway, I created this online platform that aggregated all of this content to sell to TV stations. And that kind of, been, buzzing around for the past like 6 years. It was a business to business type of product. But when we started to learn that, HBO Max was coming out with their own streaming service and Paramount Plus, and, Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime, we thought, how in the world are consumers going to go through all of these things? How are they going to sit there and open up each app? Or if somebody says, oh, watch Bridgerton, you have to think, wait, where do I have to go to? Is that on Amazon? Is that on Netflix?
Yeah.
And so we used our technology to create ScreenHits, which lets you put all of those streaming services into one.
Yeah.
So
such a great idea, making everyone's lives a lot easier, right?
I mean, in my life, somebody just told me, oh, watch The Greatest Showman. And I thought, what? And I didn't want to call her back because she's a busy mom. And I thought, okay, I went to the TV with my remote control and I thought, am I going to really open up Netflix and then open up, Disney to find out what I was playing? And I thought, duh, I have created an app. I went on the screen to type it in. Where is this playing? And it's like,
exactly.
It's
That's great. That's great. Okay, going back to when you saw Meghan Markle, when she was marrying into the royal family, what was your initial reaction to that?
I was just really happy because, when I was growing up, I remember, in my school, they kind of just talked about, people of color, African Americans, and they kind of start that whole process off as slavery and civil rights movement and getting spat on and getting kicked out of restaurants and, segregation and all these sad, painful things.
Right.
And alongside that, they're talking about the kings and queens of England, and they're talking about the presidents of the United States that didn't look anything like me. And I remember having a conversation with a friend, oh, well, maybe one day I'll be president. And their response was like, Black people will be president. So I was like, what?
You were like, what?
I'm so like confused. I'm confused. And I went, tell my mom. And then that whole theory of like, why are you dressing up as a princess? There's no Black princesses. It's like, well, I'm sure there are in like Benin, or there was at one point before their countries were burned down. Anyway, so when Meghan when she married into this very incredible historical family, in my mind, it triggered like, boom, shows you right there. Right. People can do anything they want. Love conquers all. There is no restrictions. And it's the royal family kind of standing up and just saying, you know what? We're going to let my grandson marry who he wants to marry. And seeing Meghan and she obviously has the X factor about her. She's able to draw crowds in, she is a beautiful person. It's on the outside.
Yeah.
On the inside. I don't know her personally, so I can't judge her personally, but it just was like an opportunity to change the face of the monarchy.
Exactly.
And represent people of color. In a different way, having her mom there with her, her mom was loved. There was never a nasty word said about her mother. Right. It was always, she's elegant. And her mom represented herself, the way that she wore her hair, just really beautiful for the wedding. She was very respectful. She showed dignity. She just never spoke to the press. She represented us in an amazing way.
Absolutely.
Everyone that I heard on this side of the pond spoke really high of Meghan's mother. And I just, I was really happy to see that at that moment.
Yeah, it was a great sight to see. And then things happened. And then what made you speak out, by the way? I know, you had said that she could have done so well or been better. Like what triggered that for you?
I was doing an interview about something else. And the writer, Danielle, asked me, oh, by the way, what do you think about, Meghan? And at the time I did that article, which was a long time ago, I just felt that she made a big mistake because this was before she kind of came out and talked about her challenges. I just kind of felt, she had an amazing platform and you can change a lot more from inside than you can from outside. And I just felt that, it wasn't just about her, it was about all of us. And sometimes, people sacrifice, Martin Luther King sacrificed for all of us. Those boys that were in New York that went down to Mississippi to encourage people to vote and register to vote lost their lives that night because they thought it was important to get people to vote because of the voter oppression happening in Mississippi. And it goes on. And sometimes, God gives us an opportunity that's so much bigger than ourselves. And yes, when you're in the public spotlight, you do sacrifice a bit of your privacy, but she was an actress, so she was almost prepared to do it, because when you are an actress and you're in the public spotlight, there's going to be negative reviews, there's going to be positive reviews, you're going to get rejected on a constant basis, auditioning. And so it would have been seen that she would have been prepared for that. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, you would think she would have been prepared, but I don't think that she was really forthright in saying that that's why she wanted to leave. It was a good excuse, right, to want to leave, but I don't know. It just seems so sad that she didn't represent us well. But she has her advocates, my aunt being one of them.
Oh, believe me, I know. I have been called and abused online, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just like
you hang strong, Rose.
Accounts, private everything, and I have people creating fake Twitter accounts, and and it's incredible because the aggression is coming from people like me. So it's
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's really abusive.
Very
abusive. I don't respond, right? Because it's like, that's not I just don't respond. But I just kind of feel like, it reminds me when I was young, it was like always the lighter skinned person was respected amongst the group of people that look like me. It was always like, well, the lighter you are, the thinner your nose is, the smaller your lips are,
better respect.
Beautiful. And I always felt, well, what's wrong with me? My mother is actually quite dark skinned, and so I grew up in this dynamic, and I see it. People don't know me, they don't know Meghan personally, but then they always will defend her. And then they will tear me down and say the most harsh, racist things to me, which it kind of goes back, and I just think, how is that not ingrained in people, that that's racist in itself, to defend someone that you don't know because she's what? I don't understand. It's like, versus really hearing what I'm saying, because I don't actually insult her. It's just my opinion because I was asked, and I have a right to have an opinion and share my own experiences if I'm asked.
Absolutely. And do you think she should come out and say something about the fans that are so abusive on her behalf? Do you think she would have the obligation to do that? Because a lot of people say what you're saying. It's the aggression is just horrible. How they defend her and treat other people.
I know it's pretty harsh. Yeah, I think that, I'm always about uniting in a situation. And I think if you have a platform, you should unite people. And I don't think that you should divide and separate people because of race or skin color. And I'm sorry for the noise in the background. I apologize for that. I came closer to the window. I didn't realize that. So I'm sorry to everybody listening. But no, I do. I kind of feel, Harry stood up for her when people were saying those things to her, and he defended her. And, she must know what her fans are saying, which is not being supportive of, when you're using race or you're using racist derogatory terms to defend her, that should be removed immediately, because that's just inciting more anger and more racism. And you're attacking people for standing up for what they believe in. So why is it wrong for someone standing up? I personally believe she had an amazing platform. There is nothing wrong about that. I'm not saying it wasn't difficult for her, but I do believe that sometimes we're put in situations like, I remember being, many years ago in Indian Wales when Serena and Venus were just kind of really getting into. And I think it was Serena that decided not to play. No, I think she cited an injury, but the fans were like, shouting the most racist, horrible. I was there in the stadium. It was the most painful thing to see. My friend and I were just like, oh my God, this is unacceptable. And what happens if they would have said, you know what, forget this sport. I'm not taking this abuse. And when you look at tennis today, they have paved the way for all these amazing girls and men that are out there playing tennis and representing in the most elegant way, because they handled themselves with dignity and they stayed. They were inside that world, which Serena and Venus had admitted it was extremely racist, and they were treated very poorly, and they stayed in that, and they've made a difference. They've changed so much.
How do you feel having this experience living in a foreign country, and what has it taught you? Because we know it's very different, I would say, than living in the States.
Yes, I was raised, the way that I was raised by my parents was just, we appreciated different cultures. We were taught different cultures at home. So I fell in love with many different cultures before I even visited those places. So, when I went to Argentina, I think a lot of people said, oh, it's very racist in Argentina. And, I ended up living there for 2 years. I fell in love with it. I have, two Argentinians are godparents to my children. And, I think it was because I went there, I became friends with the locals. I learned the language. I learned about their food and discovered it and just their way of life. And I kind of wanted to learn that, because if not, I would have just stayed in California. And it was the same when I came to England. It was just, I wanted to understand their way of life and their history. And so for me, it was just a different experience, because I appreciate cultures. I appreciate differences. I recognize them. I don't get offended at certain things. I just really try to understand. There's so many, everybody and everything has preconditions that makes people who they are. And I think you need to understand those preconditions. And I try to take time to understand that before I judge people and give people a chance to get to know me, because people have preconceptions of me, for example, and they don't know my past or my history or what I've done or what I've gone through. And they judge, but then it's, I want to, kind of open up that window and that door to show them a bit more about who I am. So they can make their own, assessment about me versus just assuming, well, she's this person or that person, so she must be like that.
Right. And that's something I don't think Meghan did she? She didn't really try to understand the culture, the people. Maybe that's probably why it was so hard for her, because maybe wanting it to be what she was used to, or, be different, because look at who I am. I don't know. But I think that was something that she failed at doing, was trying to understand the culture, the people, especially the royal family, because it's completely different than, marrying into a regular family, would you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like an institution, I guess, and it was like a job. So she had her life with the family, that was a family life, and it was a private life. And then she had the role where she was out in public and she was doing things to bring awareness to the charities. And somewhere in there, we weren't there. We don't know what would happen, but I guess it comes down to, she has a man that loves her. He clearly loves her.
Clearly,
he said, back off, back off. I mean, my husband hasn't done that. Don't you talk about Meghan? I mean, imagine having that kind of support. So no matter what you face on the outside, to be able to come home to a man that loves you and cares for you and that protects you, because we go through stuff every day. I mean, people that really experience racism, it is something that we live with. It is something that people look at us. I walk into a shop and they're like, let's follow her. What is she going to take? It's like, excuse me. That doesn't make me feel great, right? Or if I'm waiting, or if I'm going to a hotel and they give, my nanny that I brought the better room and they put me in a small room, and they know I'm the mother. And this still happens today. Or I walk into a restaurant and they say, we don't have tables. But then yet my friend walks in and they say, oh yes, we can give you a table. This is something that I live with on a daily basis.
Right.
And so, am I going to just stop living my life or stop trying to change things so my daughters don't have to go through that? No, I'm going to use every platform that I have, even if it's uncomfortable for me, to change it. And that hotel story that happened, I went to the general manager, said, this is unacceptable. And he ended up sitting me down, apologizing, fixing the situation. And he asked me, what can we do to be better at the hotel? And I said, well, first of all, create a management program, because when I look around this hotel, the only people that are in positions of, the cleaning and stuff are people of color. And everyone at your front desk, they're not. And this was in France. And I said, so what you can do is to create an opportunity for them to move into managerial positions. And that is me, instead of saying, I'm never going to that hotel again. I'm going to write a bad review and say that they're horrible. It's me taking the time to sit down with the general manager and explain how that made me feel in front of my children. And what they can do to make a difference and give people opportunity. So
absolutely, because I think when you do experience racism, you know what it's like, and we're not taught really to just run and hide, because we know it's going to be wherever we go. And the lesson for me to tell people who talk about what has happened with Meghan or whoever, when you're Black, you're in these experiences every day. You don't run. You learn to fight. You learn to hold your own. And you stick to what you believe and what you've committed to, and you work hard and you persevere, because racism will follow you wherever you go. essentially, in some form. It may be more one place or less, but it is what it is, essentially. And educating people like what you did, that was great, that manager had, wanted to know what he could do to do better. And I'm hoping that he did follow through with that. You should go back to that hotel and see,
Yeah,
hey,
I'm gonna go back this
who's
summer.
working here.
I hope that's, I'm going to go back this summer and see.
What advice would you give a young person around traveling, living abroad, career goals, self-awareness, your character? I think you spoke on that a little bit, but just imagine speaking to a young person, because I would love for them to hear what it's like for you living and doing what you do as a woman of color.
Yeah, I think it's important to meet the locals, and to, I think some people, no matter what color they are, naturally gravitate to expats from their own country, and they built like this kind of community. But I think it's important to step outside that and to make an effort to get to know the locals, to understand their way of life, to learn, because like, if not, why not just stay in your country? But if you want to live in another country, you try the food, you learn the language, you learn the customs, you learn the culture, and you travel. And I love traveling. I love Italy. I love all places in the world. I'm fascinated by it, but I'm really fascinated about their way of life. And I think that if you enter a different place in the world, you embrace that and you learn about their way of life, and you fall in versus falling out.
So what's a typical day like for you living in England?
It's not very glamorous. It's
not glamorous at all.
On me at like 7 in the morning. I'm like, give me 5 more minutes. No, get up, make me breakfast. I'm making my breakfast.
That's right.
And then it's husband makes the breakfast for the girls. I take my eldest to school, and then I go to the office, and then I leave because I want to be a part of their upbringing. So then I come and I pick up my eldest from school, have a little juice with her to find out how her day went, take her home, see my youngest. Then I go up and I work here in this little office here before putting them to bed at night. My husband comes home, makes me dinner. We sit at a proper formal table and we have dinner, with wine. And then I give him a little bit of time, which he needs, to just watch his football. And then I go up and I read or call my American friends.
Oh my goodness, that is a nice life. I mean, really, dinner at the table every night.
That is a very English culture thing that I love, because he's very formal about it. He's very formal.
Yeah. Wow. How did you meet your husband?
I met him at a weekend in Scotland many years ago, and there's a photo of us. I will try to find it and send it to you. It's and we were at this like shooting weekend, and I saw him and I thought, oh, he's kind of cute. He's a bit older than me, so that was like kind of it. But I did like him. But I thought, well, if he likes me, he'll reach out to me, and he never did. And whenever I came to England, I always saw him. And when I moved here, we ended up going to dinner together with a group of friends. And that's when I was just like, no one ever sets me up. And I'm always setting my friends up with these guys or whatever, but no one ever sets me up. And then he mentioned that he liked me, and I was like, great, we're going on a date tomorrow.
You said that? Yeah. You were like, we're going on a date?
Yeah.
Good for you, Rose.
We're going on me tomorrow night. And we had friends in common. We knew each other for a long time, and have a mutual best friend in common. And it was a lot for him. It was a lot for him to date an American of a different background. And I think this is about when Django Unchained came out. So he made a mistake and said, ooh, there's so much talk about this Quentin Tarantino movie. Do you want to go to the movies with me? I was like, he's like, Django Unchained. I was like, oh, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. And I was like, what do I say? I really want to go on a date with him, but it was like our third day. I was like, what do I say? And I was like, how bad is it going to be? And I remember I somehow got a copy of it from one of my studio friends, and I said, oh my God. Oh my God. But I didn't want to say anything. So I kind of saw it. So I knew it was coming, but he was just like the homie, I'm sorry. Do you want to leave? Do you want to go? I was like, just relax. It's fine.
You were thinking about him, weren't you? Like, wait a minute. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, he was traumatized. He actually, he broke up with me after that. I think at that moment he realized, I can't handle it. How could I make such a mistake? That wasn't his world. It's not his world. He just grew up around that. And I think he just started, fast forward, what's going to happen to his children? How will the world treat his children? All these things. And I was like, wait a minute, we're not going to go out anymore. He's like, I don't know, maybe we should just be friends. And my mother says, you can't let that man go. He's handsome. Go back and get your man. I was like, how am I going to do that? She goes, I'm sure you will find a way.
Oh my, that is so great that you were like, we're gonna do this, right? We're gonna
Well,
make
it was a night, and I remember he said I was so surprised, and I remember I left, and my mom said, "You have to go back and get him." I said, "But Mom, what?" She goes, "I have to go. I'm doing something, but you'll figure it out." So I remember I drove my car back, and I said, "Are you still there?" No, I shouldn't be driving because I think I drank too much, and I didn't. But I told him. He's like, "Okay, I'll put you in a taxi," and he put me in a taxi. He's like, "Where are you going?" It's like, "Oh, I don't remember where I live. I drank too much." He said, "You have to take me back to his house." Like, "You're going to sleep in his guest bedroom." Okay. I mean, we started dating after that again.
Oh, okay.
Good.
You know, well, you are a go-getter, aren't you, Rose? You're like, I'm just gonna make this happen. I'll make it work. And so what's it like driving though? Because I know I would not drive in England because I know I would have had an accident on the left side of the road.
It's so funny because I brought my I had this like kind of like, you know, CLK 360 Mercedes that I brought from like New York. Like, why are you bringing a car there, especially like this car? I was like, I don't know. I just think it'll be easier if I can drive on my side of the road and understanding like the depth of ratio to the car. And like, you're crazy.
No, Rose, you did not.
I brought my car and I was driving on the left side. And I remember one night I was like driving, but they have like these roundabouts in England.
Yeah.
And they don't have those in California. You know, in California, it's like T structures.
Right.
And I was like, I don't understand these roundabouts. And I was just driving around and around. And I'm looking at this black kind of tinted car. This police officer was like, boom, boom. I was like, oh God, what have I done? He's like, what are you doing? You've driven around this 5 times. Well, officer, I'm lost. I'm American and I'm in like an American car. I'm so lost. And they were so nice. They were like, oh, we'll drive you home. Just follow us. We'll get you out of this back to Chelsea. And I thought, oh,
so they escorted you out of the roundabout, sort of speak. Oh my goodness. That was like in that movie with Chevy Chase when they went on holiday in England and he just could not get out of the roundabout. They were there the whole day in the roundabout. Oh my goodness. I mean, that really happened to you. That's crazy.
Really did.
So how did you end up going to England if you weren't brought there through marriage? You just like, I'm gonna go live in England?
Yeah, I kind of like I wanted to. I wanted to come here. When I was here when I was 19, I fell in love with it. That was a very beautiful country, and I had an opportunity to work for MTV, an internship many years ago. But I actually ended up getting a really great job in LA, and so I turned it down. And I thought that was probably like my last chance to get back there, and I kind of forgot about it. And then when I decided to start ScreenHits in 2012, I just thought, you know what? I'm going to go do it in London. And I just came.
Wow. So you were just able to set it all up there. So you have shop in England and over in the US and LA?
No, what happened was I wasn't even thinking. I was just like, I'm going to go to London. And I remember I was having like 2 weeks before I shipped my furniture. I signed a lease to an apartment. I shipped my car. And I was having lunch with a friend from England in New York. And I was like, yeah, I'm excited. I have an office now there. And she's like, you can't just move to England. And I said, I have 6 months on my visa. Yeah, you can't just go there and work and do that. What are you going to do after 6 months? And I said, oh my God, that just completely escaped my mind. But my dad helped me. He had a friend at the British Embassy, and they talked to me, and they just had a new visa for entrepreneurs. It was like a prospective entrepreneur visa where you could go to set up a business. So the stars just kind of aligned, and I got that visa, and I was able to come here and build my business.
Yeah. Do you have other American friends?
No, actually.
No?
I'm making, I mean, you know, it's funny because I was really raised when you go to a country, you really get to know the locals and you kind of mold in. And so I didn't go the expat route. I have lots of American friends from America, and I see them over here and they visit me and I go back home. But here, my friends, I think they're mainly English. Yeah.
But so you don't really know or hang out with Americans that are actually living in England.
Wasn't that strange?
That is strange. I find it.
But it's been like that everywhere I live. So even like when I lived in Argentina, all my friends were, you know, Argentinian, porteños. So
because I know for me, I'm like, well, where's the Americans? Like I want to find the Americans, and we talk about what is it like living here. And you know, I mean, in China, I had to do it. I just had to do it because it's the Wild West. I love China, by the way. It was such an eye-opening experience.
I
to
can
live
imagine.
there, to see how the culture is like amongst the Chinese in their country. It's, you know, it's
Yeah.
great. What's the one thing that has been like the greatest learning experience for you? Like that one thing that, you know, wow, I didn't know that, or I'm glad I found out about that, or, you know.
I think, you know, I've had a lot of like, you know, no's in my life and rejections and failures, and
Mm-hmm.
we all have dreams, right? We all have
Right.
our dreams, and life happens and dreams don't come true, or we really kind of are going down a certain path and it doesn't happen. And, you know, I never really thought I would start my own business. And it's been a really, you know, difficult road, you know, but I stick with things for as long as I can to see what I can do with them. And I guess the biggest thing I learned is that no one can really stop you from doing anything. And you are the maker of your own creation in a way. And so I have found a way through the obstacles that have been laid in my path, to find the things that I want to do, and to do that, to create opportunities for other people. And, you know, I think through failure, you find success. You just have to keep finding a way over that obstacle, because there's always a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like my biggest lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you were always instilled with that when as a young girl, or, I mean, growing up, you had to endure, right? But sometimes when you're older, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Or, you know, sometimes you just have to take a different path too, right? Sometimes you have to know, well, maybe I'll try this. Because I think you had other business ideas too, right? Didn't you do other things besides, because you were in corporate
I
America?
did, but I don't think it's a different path. I think that
Mhm.
it's on the same path. And then sometimes you come, you know, you can't get to the next path unless you are on a certain path, and then it will
Okay.
reach in the road, right? So
Yeah.
everything you do until that moment is, which road do I go down? You had to build on that, because everything that you've learned, every experience that you had, everything
Mm-hmm.
that's made you stronger, all of that stuff gets you to the point where when you have to pivot or go down a different road, it has prepared you for that. And when I look back at my life and I connect the dots, as Steve Jobs
Yeah.
once said, I see that everything that I have done, everyone that I have met, has created this opportunity for me to take advantage of when it was presented to me. And so we should never feel that failure was the wrong path. We should always see it as, that was the steps I needed to take to get to the elevator.
I see. So it's not changing the path, it's just going down this path to get to whatever that next path in life is. But to
It's like if
keep
you want to
going.
get to a certain road, right? And you know that you're trying to get to, you know, Wiltshire, and you're on Centinela Avenue or whatever it may be, and this is roads in Santa Monica, California. You can't get to Wiltshire unless you go down a certain road, turn on another road, and then cross over. So, but you can't just hop from A to D. You have to go down those routes.
Right. I see. I like how you look at that. And that's true. You should look at it like that, because the worst thing you can do is to just never get up again, and to never keep trying and keep persevering. What did you learn from trying to pursue a career in acting?
That there's, you know, if the roles aren't there that I wanted to be there, then I need
Right.
to get on the inside and make change from the inside, which is what Meghan could have done.
Also, I was going to ask you, so what advice would you have given her?
I don't
If
think
you were
she
sitting here talking to her right now, what would you say? Girl, what did you do? No, I'm kidding.
I think that moment has passed.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think if it was before that moment has passed, it was like, you know, look at all the good Martin Luther King did, and you have been given a platform, you know, where you could reach the world as he had. Imagine what he would have done in that platform. Imagine what Martin Luther King would have done.
Girl, you just said it. You just said it right there. Because what could she have done? That's what Lady C says all the time. But, you know, we're trying to, well, at least keep the platform now in a different state. What do you think about that? Oh, I'm not changing I'm not leaving. I'm just going to set shop up over here in Los Angeles. That's what I think she's saying, right? But
I think,
what if she's saying that?
It's different. I think it's different, because I think when they were working royals, it was all about bringing awareness to charities and, you know, supporting her queen, the Queen. And I think it was supporting, his brother when he would eventually move into that role, and his father. I think Archwell is a production company to produce documentaries. And then I think they also have, as part of that for-profit company, they have their not-for-profit company to help support the charities they want. But when you're doing many different things, you can't be great at everything. So sometimes things, you give a little bit of yourself to each thing, but nothing is great. And sometimes if you focus on one thing, you can really make a change and do great things with it. I'm a victim of doing so many things. And I've learned in the past that by doing that, you can't really make something great. And it's going to be which of those two pull them and what they focus on. And hopefully the not-for-profit becomes the more dominant one, because then they can really still bring awareness and change and help, people that don't have the help that they need to grow.
Right.
Because it's not always about ourselves. Sometimes God maybe put us up to sacrifice ourselves to help the greater good for others. And I'm not saying she had to sacrifice herself, but sometimes life does give you an amazing platform and you have to make a decision. Do I use this for myself or do I use it for others?
Rose, I got chills from you saying that. It's such a good way to teach and learn about, it's not always about yourself, right? It's about helping others and doing something to give back, right? And when you have a platform, what are you going to do with it? Speaking of which, how do you give back? How do you show a gratitude for, the things that you do or have had?
I try to lead by example. I really try to push the envelope. I try to stand up for, people of color in the circles that I am in, whether it's corporate America or if it's the entertainment industry, if it's socially. In any situation that I'm in, I stand up for people. Mm-hmm. People don't know about it because I don't publicize it. Mm-hmm. There's charities that I support that I think is really important. There's a charity called Maleka where they help girls in the Congo go to school. They get uniforms, they get food, they get educated. They have iPads and computers and really strong women from around the world coming to help educate them. And I really want, from my experience growing up and what I was taught in my schools, was the very sad, painful, suffering side of people of color. And I do not want my children to grow up and see that people that look like them only suffer and that are only disadvantaged or only being abused. I want them to see power within people that look like them and growth. And I don't want racism to be an excuse. Now, racism exists. It exists, but it doesn't matter. I really don't care what somebody in the Deep South is saying about me. They don't have to like me. I don't need to change their opinion, but I will be sure that what I do in my life and how I work to grow my business and I work to help other people, that they will rise above that. So those that want to be bitter and remember the old days where they had other people doing the work for them without having to pay them, and they want to be angry about the growth, it's all about growing and it's all about working with people. And all white people are not racist. I mean, right. Sacrificed their lives. They helped on the Underground Railroad. The Kennedys helped to put laws in order to change things. That they took people down to the Deep South when it was about segregation. Everybody is not racist, and it really hurts me when it's against us and them. It's not about against us and them. I mean, I have some of the most amazing people that people would call racist that support and invested in my business. They invested in me. Mm-hmm. And they support me over and over again. So what do people gain from saying you're just racist, you shouldn't have what you have, and you're a horrible person? And they're not even thinking about that. They're just trying to raise their families, they're trying to make money, they're trying to live their life and be good parents and do stuff, and they're getting thrown into some of the bad apples out there. But believe me, the people that can really make a difference and make a change, what do people gain by tearing them down? Why not work with them and help them to see? I mean, that's how slavery ended in the United States, because there was, people will always call the people working in the house, what they called them. Yeah. And I'm sure you probably had some of those comments thrown at you. And they were the ones in the house, listening what was going on, trying to educate and say that this isn't right. What are they supposed to do, right? Back in the day, people have to take care of themselves, but it was them inside that was saying, this is not right. You need to do this, you need to do that. If there's no one on the inside helping to explain and show things and to change perceptions and to create a humanity amongst humans,
Yeah.
then where do our voices go? So, people shouldn't really be criticizing and tearing down people, because I can honestly say in my life, I have had people from all different backgrounds support me and be there for me. And some of my closest friends, they don't treat me in a way where I feel that I'm less. They are just humans, and I feel we are humans. And I'm so tired of this dialogue based off of skin tone. It is such a basic, limited viewpoint. And I just don't like people throwing that word around when racism is so much more than that. And it's really affecting people in a negative way. And that's what we need to do for those that have a platform, that those that are in certain positions, to help make things better for everybody.
Right, make them better. Wow, that is so powerful. Rose, 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 Rose. What can I say? You have hit the head on the nail. I'm telling you, because most people, I think, are not looking at it like that I've spoken to. They want to be the victim. And I don't think we should try to help people have this victim mindset. We need to know that we're not victims, right?
Nobody gets to tell me in my life what I can do, what I can achieve, what I can be. And we find alliances and friends that help us to all grow together as a people. And I mean, why? Okay, so it happened. But, if slaves can break out of slavery and become presidents of the United States and own media companies, it's an insult, because they had exactly nothing to actually rise above and change things. So to complain and to say the victim, we're not the victims. We are not the victims. And I know my self-worth. And there's nothing wrong with taking control of your own future, your own destiny, to say that this theory that I can't get this job or I can't do this because of my skin color, that is a perception that will only start changing when we stop allowing that perception to continue through verbal use.
Right. Wow. And we also have to know that we have to, build people up. And sometimes when you kind of check somebody, it's not because you don't like them or hate them. We want people to see, stop looking at yourself as not being able to do something. Sometimes I think within our own culture, we think that we are beating up on each other, and because we're not falling into that victim mindset. But it's out of love that you speak up and you say, be better, do better, because you don't have to be someone who is a victim of your circumstances. You can teach someone to work hard and to persevere and to grow. And sometimes people mistake that for hate, and it's not hate. It's like, you can not be like this. You can do better. Like, what did you know about the royal family growing up? Did you know anything as an American?
Yeah, I think we all know. We knew that there was the Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
We knew about Charles and Diana. I think everyone knew. I would say when I was probably younger, I knew a very high level about it. I didn't really get into learning about the history of the monarchy until maybe 2002, when I started reading about the Lancastrian family and the Tudor family, and understanding the history, going way back. And so because of that learning, I know a bit more about the history of it and how it worked and how it operated, but maybe a bit more than the average American knows.
Yeah, so we always knew about them, but we just didn't know like the differences, or at least I didn't, about princess, duchess, duke, all that stuff. Like, I didn't know stuff like that, but we knew who the royal family was.
Yeah, right. we knew because we were all looking at, like, Cinderella. Well, who are the princes left in this world?
Yeah.
Only England, really? The monarchy is gone, everywhere else? Oh, there's only 2 princes? Wow.
Right. Where's the American princes, right? Where they at? Like, yeah, where are our castles in America? We don't have no castles, But have you been to Germany? They've got some nice castles over there.
They do.
Yeah. I lived in the south of Germany by the Hohenzollern castle. Do you know that one? By Stuttgart. It's beautiful. It's like on a big mountain. Like, you can see it from far away. And they are descendants actually of Queen Victoria, the royals from Germany.
I remember when I was dating my husband, he took me to a very we went on a shoot, with this very historic old family. They're one of the oldest. And I was like, my God, I can't believe I'm staying here. How many other people like me have stayed here? And I was next to the Duke for dinner, and I was like, and he was so nice and so welcoming. And he sat me next to him all the time, and we chatted, and they're good friends of my husband's. And I just thought, my God, it's like I'm living a bit of history, because they still kind of live in this way they lived 300-400 years ago. Wow. And it was really lovely to see.
Yeah. Do they have like, well, I know in Germany they did, but have like Kuchen or cake and Sundays where they just sit and, you know, because I was just, you know, it was very lonely life when I lived in England. But like, is it like traditional on the Sundays to hang out with family and take walks and do that?
They have their Sunday roast.
Yeah.
Everybody has it. Doesn't matter what social class they're in. Everybody has this Sunday roast where they roast the chicken and the potatoes, and it's wonderful.
Wow.
I've learned to make a very good roast chicken, I have to say.
Oh, you can? Oh.
I have made a very good roast chicken.
That's well. What about? I know what I had was baked potato with beans. That's what they eat in England. You know that, right?
I don't know.
That's very popular. Very popular.
I've never had that.
You've never had that before? Oh, wow, Rose, you're missing out, girl. You're missing out.
I got a scotched egg. I have that a lot. Scotched eggs are.
What is that? I've never had that.
It's a boiled egg wrapped in sausage and breadcrumbs, cooked.
Fried?
I think it is fried. Yeah.
Fried with the breadcrumbs? What?
Yeah, and the egg somehow stays like perfect. It's not like overboiled or anything. I don't know how they do it, but it's actually good.
I've never even, I have to try that. Okay. Well, Rose, those are my questions, and you have been so great and lovely. I love your life. You are living a dream. You are living the dream, girl, living the dream.
Oh, you're so sweet. We're all trying.
Yeah. You're quite an inspiration.
But just keep doing what you're doing. Your channel's great. You're a great presenter. I think you're a great interviewer. You have great things coming your way. So you keep pushing forward for that.
That's very nice of you to say. That's very nice. Well, you have given me the encouragement to keep doing what I want to keep doing, no matter how hard it is. Just keep going, persevere.
You're very talented. My mother's like, "Ooh, I like that PDina." She's like,
really?
On my Instagram, if you say, and so she's like always like going onto your channel. Tell me watch like all of your things like 1,000 times.
Oh, that is so sweet. Well, you tell your mother hello, and I will hopefully come to see you when I come to England. That would be so nice.
You let me know when you're here, okay?
Okay, I will absolutely let you know. And have a wonderful day, and say hello to your family. And I am wishing you all the best. I have signed up for ScreenHits.
Thank you.
And I'm going to be using the platform, ScreenHits TV. And we're good. We're good. Let's just stay in touch.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.